Welcome to the Hour of Empowerment. Today we are in Season 1, Personal Development, Topic 3, Sense of Urgency. And we are in Episode 2. We're going to have reality checks and tools. First, let me revise what we discussed in Episode 1. As we discussed in Episode 1, everybody may have vision. The question is whether we are committed or not, whether we are investing our time, our finance, and our energy into the main thing, our purpose, our mission, or not. We also discussed about how many visions wilted, aborted, and vanished because of lack of sense of urgency. There are three kinds of people when it comes to time management. Who are these three kinds of people? The first kind of people are people who spend their time as if they live forever. The second kind of people are people who live with a sense of urgency. And the third kind of people are people in between. Where do you find yourself right now at this stage of your time? We also pointed out that successful people understood the importance of time. That's why they succeed. And there are three attributes of successful people when it comes to time management. What are the three attributes of successful people? The first one is they invest a chunk of their best time towards the main thing, towards their mission. The second attribute is they also maximize their time. They don't just invest their time, they also invest their finance, their energy, so that they maximize their time. The third attribute is they continually align themselves alongside the main thing, their mission in life. We also talked about the benefits we may enjoy when we enter into a sense of urgency and some compounding factors that may deny us from entering into a sense of urgency. What are those four compounding factors? The first compounding factor is preoccupying ourselves with our past. Celebrating, living, and reliving our past denies us from entering into a sense of urgency. The second compounding factor is procrastination. The third one is skepticism about the future. The fourth one is distraction because of excessive information, especially in the 21st century. Today we're going to talk about vision versus sense of urgency, reality checks, self-assessments and measurement, time versus energy management, and pseudo sense of urgency, and some tools. First, let's talk about vision versus sense of urgency. Many of us fail to give our vision our best. That's why we are not achieving. That's why we are not realizing our vision. We lack the high sense of obligation to pursue our vision with a sense of urgency. Our commitment could have fueled and ultimately shortened the place where we are now to the place where we want to arrive. But because of lack of commitment, sense of urgency, we couldn't be able to shorten the distance between where we are right now to where we want to arrive. We also postpone our commitment into the future that robs and at the end of the day delays the realization of our vision. Many vision aborted, wilted slowly, and finally dried up because of what? Because of lack of sense of urgency, lack of drive to act in the moment, right now. Here is what Leonardo da Vinci said. I've been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. Now I have a couple of questions to you. Do you feel obliged to pursue your vision? Is your sense of obligation is low, medium, or high? What is keeping you from showing high commitment? Here is what Vince Lombardi said. He said that unless a man believes in himself and makes a total commitment to his career and puts everything he has into it, his mind, his body, his heart, what is life worth to him? He's right. Now let's talk about reality checks. Vision versus commitment quadrant, measurement of your commitment towards your vision. The first reality check is vision versus sense of urgency quadrant. As you can see, we have vision on the y-axis and commitment or sense of urgency on the x-axis. As you can see, there are 4 quadrants. The first quadrant, low vision, low commitment. The second quadrant, high vision, low commitment. The third quadrant, low vision, high commitment. The fourth quadrant, high in commitment and vision. Let's see each quadrant. The first quadrant represents people who are neither visionary nor committed. They lost their insight and drive. They are in the dark room of life and are not doing anything to change the situation. They are locked themselves up. The second quadrant symbolizes people who have some kind of vision but without enough commitment. The vision they think they have is either an illusion or a fantasy. And as you know, illusions and fantasies, they can't generate any commitment. They can't mobilize our whole being. The third quadrant represents people who are committed but without clear vision. They act restlessly and engage in lots of activities, but without furthering their goals. The picture that could have given them the focus is missing. The fourth quadrant represents people who have vision and they are committed. This is the place where we need to be. This is the most obvious place to find ourselves. People in this quadrant are vibrant and alive. They are guided by their insight. And their vision, their visionary journey is fueled by their undying commitment that springs from within. Now the question is, in which quadrant do you find yourself? In quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? Wherever you are, the goal is to make a shift into the 4th quadrant. You can use this same reality check to strike a conversation with your mentees or with your coaches, and also you can use this as team. You can talk about where the majority of your people are. Where are the majority of your people right now? In which quadrant? The goal is to help them migrate to the 4th quadrant. If you are already in quadrant 4, you stay there for a very long period of time. Now let's talk about the next reality check, which is measuring your commitment for your lifetime vision. As you can see, there is time, there is energy, there is finance. How much percent of your time, your energy, and your finance you have invested in pursuit of your mission? For example, if you are pursuing your mission as a full-time, then you can say that you have dedicated your time 100%. If you pursue it as part-time, maybe more or less of 50%. If you're not doing anything about your purpose, your mission in life, then you may tick and check none. You can use this reality check for your team too, to see the commitment of your team members towards the mega vision, towards the grand mission of your organization. Now let's self-measure. As you can see, there is a commitment continuum from 1 to 10. The question is whether you are in the lower end or in the middle or at the higher end of this spectrum. You should measure yourself, for example, 1 being you have not committed anything in pursuit of your mission, no investment of attention, and your mission is at the bottom of your priority list. You measure and scale yourself 10 if you have invested on it and you have given it your full attention and it is on top of your priority list. Use this measurement with your team to see where they stand. Are they at the lower end, in the middle, or at the higher end of the spectrum? Now, I have been talking about the importance of showing sense of urgency. You can't really show sense of urgency without investing your best time, your finance, and your energy onto the main thing, your mission. But we should be very, very careful not to enter into pseudo sense of urgency. Sense of urgency doesn't mean that you do things at fast pace and all the time without rest. It doesn't mean that you avoid loving, learning, and serving others. You should not also avoid your obligations to serve your community, your organization, and your nation. It doesn't mean also that we undermine other aspects of our life, growing, loving, and so on and so forth, our health. Now let's talk about time versus energy management. You heard me saying invest your time, energy, and finance. As you are well aware, you have limited time, 24 hours per day. How much of your limited time are you willing to invest on your mission is the question. You have 24 hours, limited time, but where do you invest the best of your time? On your purpose? On your mission? That's the question. That's why I advise you to think, strategize, prioritize, and routinely manage your limited time. Otherwise, it's not the sense of urgency you demonstrate that's most important. The most important thing is, do you invest your best time in pursuit of your vision? Unlike time, however, your daily energy is not fixed. You can generate and manage your daily energy. Because we don't have time to discuss about managing your energy. So I encourage you to read the book, The Power of Full Engagement. Managing energy, not time, is the key to high performance and personal renewal. The book argues that learning to manage energy more efficiently and intelligently has a unique transformative power, both individually and organizationally. The book helps you to mobilize key sources of energy, balance and renew your energy, expand your energy capacity, and create energy management rituals. Now let's talk about two of the tools you can use to manage your time efficiently, effectively, and smartly. Stephen Covey's matrix, Mind Tools Important Urgent Matrix. Now let's talk about Stephen Covey's matrix. As you know, Stephen Covey is the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He used this matrix to explain how we spend our time. There are 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, urgent and important. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. And quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. Now here is a graphic representation of Stephen Covey's matrix. As you can see, there are 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is urgent and important. As you can see, there are crises we need to handle, pressing problems in our work, in our family, in our environment, in our community, deadline-driven projects, meetings and reports, health issues, and so on and so forth. The second quadrant represents not urgent but important. Here we are talking about prevention, thinking, strategizing, planning, reflecting, preparation, relationship building, and recreation, resting, relaxing. Quadrant 3 represents not important but urgent, interruptions, unimportant reports, meetings, phone calls, emails, and so on. Quadrant 4 represents not urgent, not important. Things like busy trivial works, time wasters, irrelevant phone calls, emails, etc., and excessive TV and games. The most important thing here is that you need to find out where your tasks and your projects are. Are they in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, in quadrant 4? You can use this tool also to work with your team and enlist the projects and the tasks of your team and put them where they belong. Highly successful people, they stay out of quadrant 3 and 4. Here is quadrant 3 and 4. They stay out of interruptions, unimportant things, and busy trivial works, time wasters, excessive TV, and games. Unlike the majority, they spend their time in quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important things. Think about it. The majority of the people spend their time in quadrant 3 and 4. But successful people, highly successful people, spend their time in quadrant 1 and 2. There are smart people who spend in quadrant 1, but they don't give a lot of time for urgent and important things like strategizing, reading, thinking, planning, preparations, and so on and so forth. That's why a few people are highly successful, because they reserve a fraction of their time to invest in quadrant 2. The question to you is, where do you spend the majority of your time? In quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3 or 4? Or in quadrant 1 and 2? That's smart. Now, my advice to you is that you need to spend a couple of minutes each day and straighten up your priorities. Here is my advice. In front of your mirror, or before you start your car, wherever you start your day, make sure that you straighten up your priorities. Make sure that you invest some fraction of your time on those important but unurgent things. Find time to invest on those issues that are in quadrant 2. That is the most important thing you should mind when it comes to managing your time to become highly successful. Let's talk about the modified version of Stephen Covey's matrix. It is developed by Mind Tools. There are 4 quadrants: important goals, critical activities, distractions, and interruptions. Let's see the graphic representation of this tool. As you can see, quadrant 1 represents important goals. Quadrant 2 represents critical activities. Quadrant 3 represents distractions. Quadrant 4, interruptions. Now, with yourself or with your team, sit down and make sure that where you should invest your time. Here is how it works. Take time to list all your tasks and projects. Pause this video and come up with 2 pieces of paper. In one piece of paper, enlist all the projects and all the tasks. You can do this exercise with your team, with your friends, your colleagues. Enlist the tasks and the projects you are engaged right now. Review your list together and make sure where they belong. Where they belong. Are they in important goals in quadrant 1, or in critical activities in quadrant 2, or in quadrant 3, or in quadrant 4? Once you determine where your projects and your tasks belong, then you make determinations to identify your priorities, where you should invest your time, your energy, and your finance. And also you make tough decisions to eliminate distractions and interruptions. So use this tool to make sure that you spend your critical time, your scarce resources onto the most important projects and tasks. If you do that, you can manage your time very smartly. In conclusion, we talked about vision versus sense of urgency. We underlined that vision is very important. We should have vision that guides our journey. But we need to enter into a sense of urgency to pursue it by giving it our priority, by investing on our vision, our time, our resources and our energy. Many visions wilted, vanished because of lack of what? Sense of urgency. Otherwise, many of us have vision. The question is whether we invest on those important projects and tasks on a daily basis. We also talked about, even if we should invest our time, energy, and finances and enter into a sense of urgency on a daily basis, we should not enter into pseudo sense of urgency. We should take rest, we should relax, we should build relationships, we should also plan, strategize, relax, and so on and so forth. We also took 2 reality checks and a self-measurement to see where we stand. And we have also discussed the importance of time management and energy management. We said that we need to manage our time by identifying our priority projects and tasks and by identifying our priorities. But we also need to manage our energy because we have ample opportunity to generate and manage our energy. The question is whether we invest that energy on those most important things or not, those priorities, those main things or not. I believe that if you invest your energy and your time on those priority things, you're going to succeed. Use also those 2 tools and work to find out individually and in a group to find out the most important thing, the most important tasks and the most important projects, and invest your time and energy on those important priorities. If you could be able to manage your time and your energy, and if you could be able to create and generate energy to succeed, I'm sure that you have control on your destiny. And at the end of the day, you will join the club of highly successful people. You can do it. Next week, we're going to discuss about formation of commitment, some processes, and also case studies of committed people. Until I see you next week, have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.